वीणामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजम् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामभित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्।
Om Shri Sai Ram. Offering our collective pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, loving Sai Ram to one and all present here. I am Ashrit V from Bangalore, a participant of NLP Batch 2025. Before we dive into the second session, let's take a moment to recap and reflect on this insightful journey we undertook yesterday in the previous session with Brother Sai Gunaranjan and Brother Satish Kumar Pradar. We began our session with an interesting analogy of making a perfect pulav and managing a project, which led us in drawing a sharp and necessary distinction between what is and what is not a project. We learned that routine, repetitive tasks do not qualify as projects. Why? Because a project is a set of sequential activities that are done to achieve a specific goal within a specified timeline using a set of limited resources. We also understood that in an organization, broadly, there are two types of activities. They are project based activities, which are unique, goal specific, that can be measured in value. The second type are operational activities, which are repetitive, ongoing, and that can be measured in volume. Then came the key elements of a project. These included defining timelines, setting specific goals, hiring people and defining ownership, budgeting, stakeholder involvement, risk management, advanced and detailed planning. But at the heart of the session was the project management triangle, also known as the iron triangle. This triangle emphasized that the balance of time, scope, and cost in a project is non negotiable. Alter one side, and the other two inevitably shift. We saw how careful coordination is essential, and if deviation go beyond a buffer, the stakeholders must be informed. Finally, we zoomed out and looked at life as a project through a golden triangle bestowed by our beloved Swami and mapped it with the iron triangle, which was a thought provoking phase indeed. Before we move on, hope everyone had a chance to think about their own golden triangle as a part of the homework. With that, I would like to hand it over to brothers Sairam.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brother Ashrit, for doing a recap. You actually saved me a couple of minutes. That's so very nice of you. Okay, so Brother Satish, you're here with us?
Sairam, brother. Sairam, everyone. Yes, very much.
Sairam, everyone. Yes, let me share my slides. Are you able to see my screen?
No, brother.
It's coming up. Yes.
Okay,
Noted.
cool. So, good morning, everyone.
Good
Sairam,
morning.
Good morning.
was it? I know it's Sunday.
Good morning.
It's 8 a.m. in the morning on Sunday. So sorry for bringing you guys here. So some of you have dragged yourself in. Some of you have just got up. So what have you planned today? We're waiting for some kind of responses. Okay.
Yours. Just reading out.
We have
Your
youth
schedule.
conference.
Wonderful.
Cricket, wonderful, very nice.
Traveling. Oh,
Balvikas,
participation in 1008 bhajans. Nice.
Balvikas Vedam class and
And
evening Sai
Jim,
Bhajans. Sai
Balvikas.
Sunday.
need to do some research work. Cooking biryani, very nice. Okay,
Sleeping.
please do invite
My
us.
health.
Spending good time
Spending
with the child,
with-
very important. Yes. Samiti work, Bal Vikas, traveling, planning drama practice at Sai Nivas, Parthi drama practice. Okay. Eat and
Eat and sleep.
oh, that's what I think that's one of the best things. Jal Seva after the class will do operational work, making PPT for Bal
I saw
Vikas.
somebody said he's in hospital. I hope all is good. Thanks, and I really appreciate the commitment.
I think they also like this message. फिर dance करूंगा ये होने के बाद. I need to go back for my dance practice. Very nice. Okay, wonderful.
PhD
Okay,
work.
marriage function.
Marriage function preparation. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. Think about it. Dance class and sanity oh, Samiti. Okay. We have a youth conference in our district. Wonderful. That's very nice. Okay, good. So I think brother did a little of the recap. So we will start with our thought. We'll just pray to Lord Ganesha so that he helps us in learning and understanding without any obstacles. And we pray to the little Lord Krishna so that he fills this journey with fun and mischief so that the learning process in itself is a lot happier. Sairam, everyone. Okay, so brother took out some time to give us a recap. So from pull-up to projects, how everything starts with certain activities, why project management is important, of how project is nothing but a routine repetitive task that is performed, how project is not a routine repetitive task that is performed again and again. It's a one-time activity. So the daily morning we brushed our teeth, we dragged ourselves here. This is not a project activity. Okay. So we went through this. It's a set of sequential activities with a specific goal. With a specific goal with a specified timeline and a limited set of resources. So we covered all of this yesterday that there are two types of activities, project and operational based. And every project has all of these major components. Just let's focus on this for about 30 seconds because we will be using this. This will be the starter for the next couple of slides in the project phases. So every project there. So before we start, there is certain amount of hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, brother,
Good.
you're audible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so every project has a start date and an end date. Before we start, we identify what is the goal of the project. We find out why are we wanting to do this project. Then we plan about the project, get into the details of it, connect with all the people involved. We also talked about one of the brothers starting a Michelin 3 restaurant, Modi coming and having a meal with him. The kind of risks that it poses in case there's a short circuit, somebody puts in a mouse, how do we handle all of these stuff on a shorter note, on a smaller note. So the importance of project management becomes much, much bigger when you start to handle complex projects is what we discussed. And the crux of the entire thing is the project management triangle or the iron triangle that we call the three elements of cost, time, and scope. We also mapped it to the golden triangle of life as a project in itself, of what Bhagwan has beautifully summarized, the kind of sincere balance and discipline of how we can have a very, very harmonious life in case we try to balance the self, the societal aspect, and God, because we are all very three interconnected systems. We also saw how there will be chaos and there is destruction in case the balance is disturbed, which we are seeing an expression of it right now with the wars outside, with everybody going crazy, the market's tanking and all of it. Then we took out some time to map the beauty between the iron triangle and the golden triangle. And we got ourselves also some homework from both of us. Hope you sincerely took out those 2 minutes to map your own life's journey and the golden triangle of what is that I'm doing, where am I spending my precious energy? Because now everyone's talking in the world not about time management. I hope you know that. So everyone is talking of energy management. And how am I really spending my energy on the right things, right path? And how, when we consciously spend our energy, we express our life starts to become much one which is full of harmony and full of expression of human values. So that is where we stopped. Correct, Satish? So this is where we stopped. We took a couple of questions
Right.
from you to understand, and we were extremely delighted and happy to know that almost 99.5% of the class, or even more, had got the right answer. When I was studying project management, trust me, way back in 2007, and I got it all wrong. Okay, so I was probably one of those backbenchers, wherein I didn't get the complete understanding. But this is so we're dealing with a class which is much better, Satish, at least as compared to myself. And yeah, that's a good start. Thank you everyone for your cooperation. So I hope you are in sync. Just give us a thumbs up in case you are also abreast of the same thing. And if you're on, then we will start with the next set of steps. Okay.
So yes, the responses are coming in, no? And yeah, we're good to go.
Good. Thank you. So over to you, Satish.
Sai Ram, everyone. So until yesterday, we saw what are the various elements of the project and uh, what constitutes a project, the definition, etc. I'll just begin by a small introspection on what are the core elements or the core principles that actually help us orchestrate a project, or what are the foundational pillars for project management. So these are the four. First of all, knowledge. In order to execute a project, because project generally, unlike a routine operational activity, they would require a set of sequential activities for a very particular objective. Usually that objective is novel, right? Not something that has been done previously. So in order to get there, you need SMEs, subject matter experts, right? People who are very skilled at what they do. And the project itself will be an orchestration of activities, each one of which will require that skill set. So without that expertise, without that skill set, you will not be able to deliver the work effectively. Hence, knowledge is one of the key pillars for project management. Then, knowledge per se is helpful mostly for planning and to anticipate what are the risks that are coming your way. In order to apply them, they need to be converted to skills. And when I say skills, there is not one person who can do the entire set of activities in the project end to end. You will have different people who specialize in different things. If I have to go back to my example of constructing a house, I cannot expect the plumber to also do the electrical work for me, or I cannot expect the mason or the foreman to do the plumbing for me, right? Everybody, there are all the key stakeholders of the project are experts in their own domain. And based on the skills that they bring to the table, they will be able to accomplish that specialized set of activity. So it is important that the project squad involves people with the right skill set, with the right domain expertise as needed in the activities pertaining to this project. Then technique. We will double click on this a bit more as we go. Technique per se depends, like it defines the approach that we take in order to accomplish a given project. If there is a given task that we want to achieve, there are various ways academically to achieve that, right? And that is where the project squad or the project manager and the larger team with consultation of other stakeholders takes a decision as to how should we go about doing it. For example, if there is a particular, let's say, we want to conduct a medical camp as a part of our Gram Seva. How do we do that? There could be umpteen number of suggestions coming our way, right? So there could be a plan that, okay, first we will identify a right spot wherein we can set up the camp where like all the facilities which does not have a lot of logistical challenge. We can get the appropriate medicines, etc., right? Where we can make sure that the patients or the beneficiaries can be we can easily coordinate them to line them up and get each one of them checked. The other way could be this could be one approach. The other approach could be first, why don't we send out a pre-registration form, right? And like take help of some office bearer to find out, uh, identify patients beforehand rather than doing that on spot, so that if you have a pre-filled registration form, you know exactly these are the individuals, these are the ailments, that this is the medicine that they will need. Likewise, in any project, even in an organization, you can even tops down approach, you can have a bottoms up approach, etc. So what technique you are using, that again, this is a judgment call that uh, the the larger squad has to consider. And today, if you see, like the space has evolved, and there are a lot of new age techniques, and this keeps on evolving every day as we speak. So this is something we will discuss as we go forward. Finally, tool. Technique tells you what is the approach, but in order to get there, you will need certain instruments at your disposal. When I say instruments, for example, you want to track the progress of the project, right? Let's say the project is cooking biryani for a select set of guests who have decided to show up at your house. You might use a simple notepad and make a list of what are the ingredients that are needed, how much you have, how much extra is needed. Make a note, accordingly procure the groceries. That will help. So in this project, maybe noting down on a pen and paper really saved you. But let us say you are doing a large scale industrial project, right? Where you have multiple teams orchestrating a $1 million project of sorts, and a lot of stakeholders are there, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders. Such a complex scale of project, will you be able to note down in your diary? No. You might need a proprietary software for that, right? Something that helps you in project management. That is so. Likewise, different kinds of projects calls for different tools. Also, depends on which kind of project you have taken up. Construction industry might require different kinds of tools and techniques in order to accomplish the project. If you're in business of software, application development, IT, that might require a very different tool or technique. Hence, these are the these are the key considerations the project management has to take. Like, do we have the right SMEs with us to help us out? Do we have the right skill sets to apply them? Have we chosen, or what should be the approach, or what should be the technique to accomplish this? Finally, what are the tools that will be needed so that each of these stakeholders can perform their tasks? That is what the 4 foundational elements of project management. Next slide. Here, question to all of us. What does this image invoke in you? What do you think of this image? Okay. Controlling, puppet show, following blindly, interesting. Puppet master, lack of free will,
Of free will, very nice. Okay.
controlling the puppetry art mechanism, puppetry, controlling actions, mastering. Oh, we are all puppets in the hand of God. That we are definitely. Corporate style of managing, right? Like directing human. Someone is always controlling us, seeking autonomy, puppet. Surrender to the Lord and accept His plan for you. I think the spiritual transformation journey has already peaked here. Wonderful. Okay. Almost all of us are right. Yes, these are puppets. That's what you are seeing here. The intent of showing this image was, if you see, right, there are different characters here, or different puppets missing. In order for this to be orchestrated, each one of them will have a definitive role to play, right? And like different characters in a play, different puppets here might actually portray different aspects of the story. They'll bring in a different flavor. But there is something, that is common in all of them. If you see the strings, there is something or somebody, right, who will be responsible for doing this orchestration. And it is only that orchestration of all these elements that brings a beautiful storyline out of it. So what is the corollary here? Next image. So in a real project as well, a project manager, or there is somebody who actually does all these behind the scenes. Just like a puppet master, he is not someone whom we can see on the screen. We only see the puppets dancing. But through these strings, actually, he is the one who orchestrates the moment. Likewise, the corollary here is, when the project is actually being conducted, while all stakeholders come together, discharge their work, they deliver what is expected out of them. Somebody who silently makes sure that everything is in perfect harmony or everything is orchestrated with utmost balance, that key stakeholder or most important persona that we are trying to discuss here, that puppet master for us is the project manager. It is the project manager who aligns all the elements, who aligns with all the stakeholders, right? And like the puppet master is behind the shadows, project manager directly does not come to the fore whenever there is a task or like with respect to, any given activity. He ensures that everybody, his activity directly is to manage all the activities are orchestrated as per the requirement of the project. Project manager is responsible to keep an eye on all the vertices of the iron triangle, right? Let us say there is a particular set of stakeholders who are engaged in their own activity. Are they doing this within the given timeline? Are they doing this with the stipulated cost? What if there is a cost overrun? Or is the right kind of quality being delivered? Whatever was the scope of the project, has that being achieved? Or are we digressing? Or have we missed out something? Eventually, because the accountability, see, it's like somebody has to look at the larger picture to make sure that the customer, right, get the work delivered as they had asked for through this project, or the acceptance criteria is met. For that, we need someone who orchestrates a different set of stakeholders, keeps everything in check, keeps an eye on the iron triangle. That persona here is the project manager. Very much similar like the puppet master in this example. Next slide. And this is going to be the key persona. And just we have a small video clip here, which will illustrate this example even better, that how every project needs somebody to orchestrate different elements or different stakeholders to ensure that there is harmony and the entire team collectively work towards a unified objective. Yeah.
Brothers and sisters, this is one of the world's best conductor of music. So enjoy the treat for the next couple of 2 or 3 minutes. Just let me know in case you're able to hear the audio also.
I don't hear the audio, bro.
No, not the audio.
I think now you'll have to reshare with your share audio settings.
Gunabhya, you will get an advanced setting to share audio. Okay.
Share computer sound.
Yes.
Okay, so just see if you're able to see it now. Are you able to hear it now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Please do pay utmost attention because after this, you will be able to appreciate the role of project manager even better. Yeah, go on. Thanks for that lovely rendition on a Sunday morning. Now, coming back, one quick question for those in audience. All of this performance, right, that required a lot of instruments to be played sequentially and like basically in sync with each other, right, to produce such wonderful music. Which instrument did the person at the center, or let's say the orchestrator, play? Which instrument did he play? None. The people, okay. This person whom you're seeing on the screen, did he play any instrument?
Oh,
Right.
Just
He
yes.
didn't play.
Okay.
But despite that, he was one of the most crucial persona here, right? In order for this entire orchestra, entire symphony to play out as it did. What is it that he did if he did not play an instrument? Because basically, the set of activities for this project was playing instruments, right? Because the instruments were played, you had this melodious music. What is it that this gentleman here added to what value did he add?
Correct. Timing, coordination, practice, gave a direction, teamwork. Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Space. Okay.
While he was not directly involved in playing any of the instrument, like we are all discussing here in the chat, it was it was the coordination that he brought to table. It was right him conducting that with his gestures. Who needs to go after what? Ensuring that after the percussions, let's say the chimes come in, etc. That is what enabled the entire team to conduct such a beautiful symphony. Likewise, in any project that we encounter, maybe Anna, you can go to the next slide. There are a lot of elements within the project that need to be managed, different aspects. And that is something that the project manager actually orchestrates. What are those elements? Like some of them I'll touch upon here. Communication, first of all. When we are doing a project, there could be a lot of challenges that can come in which the team did not anticipate. It is the project manager's job to effectively communicate the status to all the stakeholders, including the beneficiaries or the client, right? Because without transparent communication, for example, let's say there is a team that is digging a tunnel through the mountain. Until let's say, and it's a blind tunnel. I mean, it doesn't have to go to the other end. It's like a tunnel that you do for mining purposes. How do you do that? Like until the mining supervisor tells you need to dig until this spot. If the team does not know that they need to stop here, they'll keep on digging and digging and digging. It will be a waste of effort. Likewise, when the people come together and they'll have to orchestrate a set of activities, somebody needs to appraise them that, hey, this is what the target was. This is where we have reached. This is the this is the work that is still left over. So this is where effective communication becomes very, very essential. And that is the onus of the project manager. Likewise, budget. Right? We discussed yesterday what a crucial role budget plays here. When the project starts, there is a certain funding that is sanctioned for us, like for entire project team to pull this project through. At any point of time, let us say the expenditure was more for a given bracket than that was planned for. Like I'm building the house, the budget that I had put aside, I divided into various brackets. This much bucket will go for raw materials, this much will go for manpower, this much go for electricals, etc. But let us say somewhere my anticipation was wrong, or the cement prices went up. Could be an error on oversight on my side. Could be some external factor that has introduced a distortion in my planning. Because of that, let us say the price has gone up. If I'm not tracking it, unfortunately, I will realize only at the end of the work that, hey, this is what I had planned for, but this is the actual expenditure. Then I'll have to rush around, where do I pay this extra money for? Likewise, in a project also, it is imperative that there is a stringent monitoring of the budgeting that is done. Milestone. When we are doing a project, while the entire project is towards a unified objective, but in order to get there will be a set of sequential activities, right? Each of these activities, when they are done, they represent a certain degree of completion of the project, or which we call as milestone. That we have reached at this milestone, this is where the next milestone starts. First milestone might have been accomplished with these set of individuals, but maybe the next milestone requires a different skill set, different resources altogether, different people altogether, appraising the team that, hey, these are the milestones that have been completed. This is what that is still there on a periodic basis so that the entire project squad knows where they're heading to. This is also something the project manager deals with. And most importantly, risks and the goals, right? Of course, when we know that this is what we have set out to accomplish, it is actually a very good practice to do a beforehand risk assessment. That while we do this, there could be a certain number of unknown that can creep. If I am giving a timeline, let us say I'm constructing the house, right? But unfortunately, it is the month of August, typically monsoon month in India. And due to inclement weather, a lot of the times, let's say the people do not show up for work, or it was not humanly possible to, carry on the construction activity. If I do not consider this delta in my planning or this extra buffer time in my planning, if I have a given timeline which assumes that every day there will be work and on a given day things will be ready, this is where I'll run into a problem, right? Because I did not anticipate the risk. Hence, risk assessment or before and preemptive risk assessment is something that is very, very crucial. And that is also the onus of the project manager, because that helps us balance the iron triangle which we saw yesterday. We should keep some buffer in terms of time, we should keep some buffer in terms of cost, so that in case there is a change of scope, the distortion in other two can be managed. That is how we have to orchestrate. So this is like, already we have touched upon a lot of these elements. And there are some which we will cover as we discuss the various phases of the project. So in principle, a project manager is that orchestrator here who deals with each of these aspects of the project. Next slide. So now I've been talking about the term stakeholders since we got started yesterday, right? So a project, apart from the project manager, there are number of stakeholders that any project will have. When I say stakeholder, these are people who have a definitive role to play in that project. Now, based on the role, they will have their own set of activities that they'll have to do, and there will be an accountability. Now, let us quickly look through what are the various stakeholders that one might encounter in a typical project. The so-called project dance, if I have to take the example of that video, these are the set of people, if I have to draw a corollary, who are playing different sets of instruments. Now, first of all is project sponsor. Any project that we are trying to do, be it internal to our organization or be it an external project, like which we are doing for an outside customer, we need to have a project sponsor, meaning somebody who agrees to sanction the amount of budget.
Somebody
Like
has
for
to put,
example, if there, sorry, go on.
so somebody has to put the money.
Correct. See, all these activities, right? All this manpower, material, etc., they all come at a cost. Unless someone signs that check for you, the project can never be accomplished. So who's that entity? It's the project sponsor, also the financier of the project. They are the ones who sanction funds, and hence the entire project can be carried out. In case if it is an external project, right? There is an organization who has given us this contract that I want you to do so and so. Based on our negotiations or based on the scope that was discussed between us, they sign that check for us that this is the amount we agreed to pay, provided you deliver this one. So in this case, it's the external. The project sponsor happens to be external. We call them the clients. They are the ones who buy the product or the service that we build. Most important stakeholders in this project, the end users, customer. Why I say most important? Because everything that the project aims to deliver is eventually going to be used by the end user or the customer. They are going to be the beneficiary. So your planning of the activities, right? The timeline or the kind of skill set that you are seeking for in each of the activity, all of them are to be centered around this persona, the end user or the customer. What is it the end user would want? What is it that how easy will it be for the customer to use? These are the questions that the project manager needs to think through, and accordingly he can put together a plan, because your project is only as efficient or only as useful as the end customer finds it. If you have built, let us say, you built a wonderful, you've conducted a wonderful project, but at the end of the day, your end users or beneficiaries do not find it useful, or they're struggling to use it. If I have to give a small example in software context, you build a wonderful app. Let's say Your app is a quick commerce app, something that gets you groceries in 5 minutes, etc. But if the interface of the app was so bad that all of us are struggling to understand and navigate after the landing screen which button I need to press, etc., we did not do a good job, right? The benefit of a project is realized when the customers themselves find it very easy to use or they're satisfied with the kind of delivery that has been done. Hence, any aspect of the project when planned should keep them in the center. Project team. The project team per se includes the set of individuals who will be conducting the various activities that go into the project. Right? They will be executing the project and they are the one whom the project manager will be managing, right? In a typical software project, they could be, as mentioned here, developers, testers, lead, etc. If building my house was a project, for me, it could be the mason, the foreman, right? The electrician, the plumber, so and so. So they are essentially the core team of the project to actually do the activities. Sometimes when we are doing this activity, a certain activity might be extremely niche or it could require an additional subject matter expert's opinion. Someone who's very, very knowledgeable in that domain. For example, while laying the foundation, if the quality of the soil is not appropriate, maybe my typical mason or foreman is struggling to build the foundation. At that point of time, I might have to bring in some expert who has some credible experience under his belt in constructing this kind of buildings. And he will be the subject matter expert who needs to be consulted in order to get guidance on how a particular activity has to be done. Likewise, if any of the project that I'm doing, let's say that it requires a very specialized technical skill. Maybe I have people who can do that, but this is such a problem that it requires something extremely innovative. And this is the case when I onboard someone who are academically and in terms of experience have a lot of mileage in that particular domain. And they are the ones who can give their opinion as to what can be done. These are the subject matter experts, people who can be consulted as and when we are stuck at a given activity. Next.
Even when
Yeah.
you're building your house, to check whether the construction is strong enough, is the
Right.
mix of sand and concrete, cement is good enough or not, there are quality people, quality teams which will keep coming and continuously checking. They're all subject matter experts. Support.
Finally, support functions. Let not the name misguide you. Even though they are support functions, they are the most important personas for this project because, like Anna said, even if I'm constructing the building, I'm achieving one milestone after the other. Who is going to certify that whether the work that I've done is at an acceptable level? Somebody needs to come and do the testing, right? And ensure that, yeah, okay, this particular aspect has met the acceptance criteria. That is where quality becomes a very extremely important support function. Likewise, once the project is over, yesterday we discussed that when the project graduates out, it becomes a set of routine activities hereafter called operations. So there should be somebody who is responsible for maintaining it or ensuring its sustenance, the so-called operations folks. Let us say the project is to lay a railway line into an otherwise hilly terrain. The civil engineers and the contractors will come forth and lay the railway line. If the project encompasses constructing a railway line, the people who will be then responsible for maintaining that railway track are also equally important, right? If they don't do so, always there will always be a risk of any untoward incident. That is why not only people who are working, but people who will be doing the validation checks, people who will be responsible to ensure the sustenance of whatever the work has been done, they are also equally important stakeholders. Because they do not directly appear in the value chain of whatever we are doing, we call them the support functions. But as I said, let's not be misguided by the name support. They are equal and important stakeholders in every project. Now, all these stakeholders that we discussed, in the parlance of your NLP project, maybe Gunana, you can touch upon this. Let us see what are the corollary personas for our NLP project. Let's say we want to do a project as a part of the National Leadership Program. Who do you think should be the project sponsor? I would like the audience to answer this in the chat first. For the project that we will be taking up as a part of the Sri Sathya Sai National Leadership Program for Self-Transformation, who will be the project sponsors? Project sponsors.
Project
Okay,
The
sponsor.
Central Trust.
organization.
Correct. Satsai Seva
Right.
Trust, Satsai Seva Organization, State, Samiti, SSSO India. Correct. Okay.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. This is super, yeah.
So they
Okay.
figured it out. Good. Right. So all the projects that we will be doing here, in principle, their sponsors will be the Sri Satya Sai Seva organizations. Right? So that's what the project will be in for. Now, again, as I said, if we talk in terms of the client, who's that team for whom this project will be delivered to? Who will be the team who will be responsible for availing the services from this project? Second
Or
one.
the
This is
organi-
more or less like on the similar lines, even if the responses are blurred, it's okay.
So the organization has only specific wings, the education wing, the spiritual wing. So who is the client who is taking the services? Clients are
State,
Common man.
society.
okay. So let's break it down for you. So that's a little hazy here. So the National Leadership Program falls under where does it fall? Under which wings do you think it falls? Or is
We
it a
have three wings in Satya Sai organization, right?
Education wing.
Education, service,
Education
spirituality.
wing.
Right, spiritual wing.
spiritual wing?
Where does where does the NLPST stand? Where does it sit?
Education.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay.
Education and
Education.
spiritual. Okay.
Spirituality.
Okay. Education, spiritual, and seva. It is
Combined.
All
All
three.
the three.
All of them.
yes. All of them. Okay. Yeah. So NLP is more like a horizontal. It's not like a vertical. Like education wing is a vertical, spiritual wing is a vertical. So
Meaning this program that we are a part of cuts across all three.
all the
It
work
is
takes.
not limited to the domain of education alone or spiritual alone or service alone. The projects that we undertake here, or by nature, this program that is designed, it is to make sure that it serves the relevant elements in each of these three. So hence, as Anna said, it is a horizontal in itself.
Okay. So who are the end users or customers in this NLP project?
Devotees, Malvika students.
All
common
We.
man.
Yes, we students. Okay,
The
correct.
beneficiaries of this project, right? For whom we are doing. End user, society, all perfect. Now the project team. Who are the project team who will be responsible for executing this project? Who
Students
will
of
be
NLP.
conducting?
the students, all of us.
Us, all of us.
They figured it all out. Wonderful. Okay. That's right.
Okay.
Now, you will need some subject matter experts also, right? Sometimes, let us say, the team decided to take upon certain activities, but during the course of that, they found that they need some additional guidance. Or maybe, at least in the parlance of the project that you will be conducting as a part of this, who do you think are the subject matter experts?
Two brothers.
Subject
That
matter
is high and women high.
NLP
Industrial
alumni.
experts, the
NLP
seniors
Mitra
and the
type of
mitras and
seniors.
the teams, the state teams.
Okay. Nice. Good. Okay. Samati members, IT team. Okay.
Guide.
Faculty. Okay. Great. Okay. So I think you guys have got it. Done. Okay. So
It
let's
is
go
the
to
faculty because they are subject matter experts. They bring experience and expertise in various domains. They are our SMEs to whom we will go in case we run into any problem, right? But again, see, something that I would like to emphasize, none of these are universal and they're extremely contextual, right? As someone said, in a given let's say in a given instance, for a project, a subject matter expertise could also be an alumni from the previous batch who has worked on that, or somebody who specializes in that activity as a, at his workplace, etc. So yes, all of these are more or less contextual. We are just trying to portray general understanding so that you are able to relate the various personas that we discussed with the personas that we will all be encountering in the course of our actual NLP project. Finally, support functions. Teams directly not involved, but they are responsible for facilitating smooth project orchestration for you. Who do you think they are?
The mitras organizing team who give us the support, who we can speak to.
and who ensure that you stay awake, that your video is on.
Yes.
Okay.
Gunaranjan Bhaiya, Satish Bhaiya, and Mitras.
Mitra, yes. Convener, yes. S5Cs, yes.
Still.
State convener, state team, yes. Samiti personnel, yes. Okay.
Swami.
Even our family for that matter, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, they are the core stakeholders, right? No second thoughts about it.
That's the most important invisible support function.
Sorry.
So
Fair enough. I think
who do you think in your life is your quality manager? Your first quality manager?
Mom. Manager.
Yeah, even before you know God.
Mother.
Yeah,
Mom,
mother,
dad,
yeah,
parents.
mother, parents, yes.
And
Your mitras, your vigilance team, your attendance monitoring team. Okay, great. So let's go to the next one, Satish.
yeah, sure.
No, projects are all very simple, right? They're very basic. We map it out, and mathematically it looks very simple. How many of you think this is a very simple representation of a project?
Before that, like even let me rephrase the question. How many of you are able to make sense of this diagram here? What does that invoke in you? What thoughts come to your mind when you see this?
Looks like
Complexity.
a
spider
spider's
web.
web. Looks like a
Acha.
spider's web, which needs hard work and consistency, and we need to keep going further, like how the spider doesn't stop.
Okay.
Mhm.
Spider chart,
Observe.
cobweb, confusion.
Personal
Complex
to
structure.
common project.
It's it's a graph. I am scared. Complexity looking very complex. Cobwebs. Anna, don't show us
Chaos.
this. Okay. No.
I think it is a graph where we are seeing the different values, and it is showing to which value it is more. It is pulled to which direction. Like for a level of
Yeah,
IT.
that's somewhat right. Just that not exactly values, but yes, various aspects.
Fact.
Okay. So basically, what you see here, right, in this kind of a chart, we are trying to show the degree of interaction that various aspects of project will require from a project manager. What are those aspects? Clarity of the problem, risks and dependencies, urgencies, right? Strategic importance of the project, level of organizational change, right? Change management, time composition and performance. At the center of it lies the project manager and his ability or the degree of interactions that it will require with each of these elements. So, not to scare anyone, but the bottom line here is it is, as somebody said, it is not as easy as it seems. The orchestration requires a lot of diligent effort. Like, for example, in that video that we saw, while the gentleman there was able to direct the symphony and they were playing it so seamlessly, how much or what kind of management skills do you think that person had so that he is able to stand there and direct each and everyone? That he needs to have that eagle eye, right, at a 30K field level to see how do I make sure that everybody comes together so that the symphony comes out. Others might be actually knowing the exact piece that they need to, play out. But the project manager has to deal with all of them together, like just like the gentleman in the video.
Yeah, so
So,
to add to what Satish said, in that video that we saw, there were about 28 instruments that were played. Okay, if you see, it's a 1.5 hour video. So 28 different instruments, and the person standing there was one of the world's best, Leonard Bernstein. And this guy knows the difference in the tune and the note between a clarinet and a jazz drum. The same note if it is played, or in a piano, or a keyboard. So just like Satish said, think of the continuous real-time processing that person, he or she, has to do to manage the entire dance, so that there's a very beautiful performance for the audience who are sitting there. This was performed in Carnegie Hall. There were about 2,000 people who were sitting there, and the acoustics part of it. He has to ensure that every note is not even a quarter note higher. It has to be so beautifully spaced out. So all of this has to be handled real time, and across different instruments. So he needs to know each instrument. He should have played it. He should have understood it. And that's the beauty of sequencing it. So experience definitely matters. So there, even when you become a project manager, you will very clearly see the difference of how a 1-year-old project manager handles things and a 20-year-old project manager handles things. Because with experience, people start to become better and better because of more exposure, more time of spending and handling complex aspects. Yeah, so see, the intention of this slide was not to scare you, but to only bring it to your kind attention, saying there are a lot of factors which go into considering a project, sequencing a project, managing a project, the risk of it, the timelines, the resources. For example, I'll give you an example. We hired about 3,000 people in our previous company, not my company, but yeah. So the company which I was working for, and they had huge goals wherein how they wanted to bring enterprise grade systems, and the revenue streams were not coming in, and the company has completely downscaled right now. 2,900 members have been laid off. There are only 100 members who are there, and 40 are being made to operate out of office, and another 60 on a rotational basis. So the central project management team in our older company had messed it up, because they could not think through the extreme complex nature of the revenue streams, the costs that were being incurred, the kind of system stability, the kind of platform that they were developing. They've actually started to bite more than what they could chew. So it's not an easy task. It takes a lot of effort, but we are just trying to build it one step at a time, so that you get a fair sense of what a project is. Okay. So Satish, shall we move next, or do we pause for a minute for anybody to take their thoughts?
In fact, just to orchestrate or just to emphasize on the importance of this, why managing all this becomes important? Because one, no doubt there will be, when you do projects at scale, there will be, let's say, many more stakeholders or many more complexities outside of what you see this graph. Even then, if the project manager has to hold the project together, it is essential that all of them are coordinated in a balanced way. Second, world is a rapidly evolving space, and at least today, projects, especially at organization level, are getting more and more demanding in terms of time, in terms of scale, in terms of delivery. So if that is the case, unless there is somebody who's very adept, whether maybe in terms of his own skills to manage all these complexities, or the tools that are deployed to manage all these skills, all these complexities, we will not be able to deliver the projects in time, because that is the nature of demand today. On that note, Anna, if you permit, I'll just quickly show a 1-minute video to show how this orchestrations comes to play. Yeah. And I'll just, yeah, sure. Okay. Just to give a context, okay, this is from one of the sport that I closely follow. Yeah. Just see how things have evolved. What we are trying to see here is Formula One racings, right? Car racing. 1950s. So in car racing, what happens is, like, once in a while during the course of the race, the car has to come to the pit stop, wherein they change various elements of the vehicle. Like they change the tires, sometimes they change the frame, etc. So that particular car or the driver has a competitive advantage over the others. So this activity of changing, let us see how quickly it has evolved over time. This is how it used to look in 1950s. As you can see, these people are the maintenance crew. When the car comes in, just look at the time that they are taking in order to change these things. There is one person who's removing the tire. All of them are doing their job well, no doubt. And they are changing the tire. They are ensuring that the pneumatic pressure is intact. They're ensuring that the hydraulic pressure is intact. After do all of this, I'll just quickly skip this. Fast forward this video. So after they do all of this, they let the driver go and race again. Back in 1950, this entire activity used to take 30 minutes. Fast forward today. How does it look like? Same Formula One crew, let's say. Now they're trying, just see how quickly they do this.
8 seconds.
Same set of activities, right?
Now they take 8 seconds to complete everything.
The world record for doing this change currently stands at 1.2 seconds. I repeat, 1.2 seconds. What all happens in 1.2 seconds? Max Verstappen's Red Bull pit stop happened in 1.2 seconds. They changed all the 4 tires. They ensured pneumatic pressure is intact. They ensured hydraulic pressure is intact. They ensured that the frame, the front, the wings, the ailerons, everything is taken care of. All of that happened in 1.2 seconds.
1 point.
The nature of activity remains the same. 30 minutes back then to 1.2 seconds. So what does it take in order to pull this off? Same stakeholders, same complexity of work. Changing the tires remains the same. The activity's nature remains the same, right? But in order to deliver at a fast-paced environment, just imagine the kind of orchestration, the kind of practice they've gone through, the kind of, management that has been put here to make sure that everybody precisely knows what his job is, how much time he has, right? And what exactly is the acceptance criteria. Assuming just because they have to do it quickly, just because Red Bull wants to win a race, they'll ask somebody to, you have only a fraction of a second to change the tire. What if that person is not really adept at doing so? Can you understand the kind of disaster it will lead to? Not only they have to do it, but they have to do it perfectly. What does it take? Utmost coordination and, yes, as someone said, right people, right kind of plan, so that everybody has, and most importantly, of course, tools and technologies. There is no denial. Compared to 1950, fast forward 2020s, technology has evolved like anything. But yes, there should be people who also know how to apply the technology in a way that the goal can be met. Yeah, Anna, over to you.
Yeah, just to add to that, Satish, just to bring it to you, in the previous, when we were with Apollo, so we were working with McKinsey on this, and McKinsey was helping out create the sequence of activity they had built. That time, even ChatGPT was not there. So they had used something called Quantum Black. So what is the best, most optimal mechanism of which activity should be done where? And in that 1.2, I'm just trying to think through what that other consultant had told. Within that 1.2 seconds, let's say there are 30 activities which are being done. So the sequencing within microseconds, activity 1, so there is an eye contact which happens with the other resource or that brother who's there, who's ready to change. With that single eye contact, the next activity starts. And this happens within microseconds. And they've been trained continuously to deliver that. So it's a wonderful sequencing and project. Yeah. Okay, let's get back. So let me know once you're able to see my screen again.
Yeah, Susan.
Yes, Professor.
Okay, great.
Now
So
we will talk about one of the most important aspects as to what will enable the project to be done, in a way that we just saw, right? Even with this fast moving landscape, fast changing landscape, even with this increasing demand in terms of urgency for delivery, etc. If we have to be, ready for addressing all of these requirements, what is it that a project requires? That is something that we'll touch upon. Next slide, Amma. Again, question to the entire forum here. When you look at this image on the left, right, you see set of wooden planks affixed to each other. In the parlance of constructing a building, what does the structure represent?
Framework.
Right. Right, of course.
The
And what purpose
skeleton.
does it serve?
Support pillars for the
support pillars, correct.
Skeleton, very good. Blueprint.
Framework and base,
Correct.
foundation.
So we understand that it's a framework, base, what is. Without this, what would have happened? Why do I even need this in the first place?
Because if the
collapse.
We don't have
foundation
any
is not
support.
ready, then how will you build further if the base is or foundation is not ready?
No
Okay.
idea where to start from.
Correct.
Okay.
And there is no support to stand.
To uphold the structure, to avoid failure. Okay.
Okay,
And to maintain a sequence.
exactly, right.
Sequence.
So, based on the nature of the ask, right, every project will call for a certain kind of orchestration between the activities in order for it to be complete. If it's a project pertaining to construction industry, they will have a very methodical way of putting the activities together so that a building can be constructed. Likewise, if it's a software project, there is a certain way in which different stakeholders come together, add their own value, and eventually the application is ready. So that construct or that so-called approach or the set, or you can say the philosophy of how do you arrange the activities together? How do you plan what should come first versus what should come later? What precedes what succeeds what? This arrangement is what we call as a framework. Why that is important? Because based on the nature of your project, it is framework that enables you to plan and execute a plan and rather orchestrate a seamless set of activities with different stakeholders. So if you make the right choice of framework, your life as a project manager will become easy because you will then be able to accomplish things in a way that you can achieve your deliverable. That is why framework becomes very important. Now, what you see here is just a set of wooden planks. And if it has to be a framework, then these planks have to be arranged in a certain way when you're constructing a building. Likewise, let us say I'm in a shipbuilding industry. I'm building the hull of the hulk of a ship. There also, you'll use the same set of wooden planks, right? But the arrangement that you do for a building are different from that used in a shipbuilding industry. Correct. And this is why, even though the building blocks are same, how do I put them together? Right. Likewise, even in the project, even if any project is just at a granular level, a set of activities that are done sequentially, the choice of framework determines the kind of output that you are looking for. And that is why there, in fact, in this project management space, which has evolved over the time, there are a lot of chosen or acceptable frameworks, and which can again be broken down into a sequence through which activities have to be done. Now, in the going forward, Guna Anna here will talk us through various such activities or parts of that planning of a project. And again, one disclaimer here, which we are calling these the phases of the project. So whatever will be discussed, these are not universal. Even for constructing, or you can say even for executing the same project, Gunana might have a certain framework in his mind. I might have a very different framework. At the end of the day, it is the project management team's judgment call. Nothing that you see here is universal. So in the next in the next part of it, we will try to understand typically what are the various phases of conducting an entire project. This is something that we have put together because they are very simple to understand. But when you go to large scale organizational projects, these phases could be slightly different. When you do the same project in a different industry, again, the phases will be slightly different. I'll touch upon this point again. They're not universal, purely referential, so that we all have a general understanding as to how does the journey of starting or the initiation till execution, how does the project actually traverse? Over to you, Guna.
Okay, thanks, Satish. Brothers and sisters, before we dig into that, I want to pick your brains on the next one. So, in terms of our own life that we live, what is the frame? Can you take a guess of the framework which has been given by our ancient rishis, the code that they have said, or even Bhagwan has also given us multiple frameworks. Okay, just take a dig at it. Can you
What is
take
the framework that
9-point
Swami
code
says
of
if we
conduct.
follow every day, our
wonderful,
lives
9-point
will
code of conduct.
The
perfect.
wonderful 9-point code of conduct? So this framework of 9-point code of conduct, even if you don't follow all of it, it is still making your structure stand. It is ensuring that you're durable, you're strong enough. The tested steps. Bhagwan has simplified it so much for us, but we don't understand it's a framework on which the entire foundation, the house is being built, the invisible steps on which we are able to build layers and rooms and floors and have our TVs and surround boxes and all of that. Some of them even have golf courts. But yeah, see, the ancient rishis have given us a code of conduct called the Hindu Dharma, a set of rituals, practices in order to build our foundations. But what are we doing today? We try to find or make our own code of Dharma, which is not tested. But the Hindu Dharma has been tested for centuries, even from BC times, from what has been mentioned in the Vedas. No, I'm just pointing this out to you to make you think, saying that the current generation, we are ready to ask, saying that, okay, is this medicine FDA approved? But we are not wanting to, before we, code of Dharma is also a framework, but we are not wanting to understand and change and check, saying that, okay, this Dharma was tested across centuries, clinical trials were done by our rishis. The new Dharma that we want to set up, the Kali Yuga Dharma or whatever it is, so has it been tested? Okay, so I'll leave you with that point. That's for you to ponder upon. So when we are entering into, I feel to complete a project, we run operational needs. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is also a blueprint. Garuda Puran is our constitution. Okay, 9-point code of conduct, 9-point code of conduct. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for those thoughts. Let's move to the next one. So similarly, for managing complex projects, so we are trying to put a simplified, standardized framework which can be used by everyone. So whatever the kind of project management technique that you use, it follows, this is a general guidance of phases. One, we start saying that with the initiation phase, saying that, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this project? Or why am I in this mission? What is my mission and purpose in life? And second thing is, once I decide what my project is, then I get into the second part of the phase, saying that, okay, let me break this down. Okay, I want to be the topper in my graduating class. If I have, that's my plan. I have initiated that. So in order to do that, what do I need to do? I, just like another brother said yesterday, I will break it down into smaller and smaller pieces. So I'll break it down into sequence of steps. Okay, if for me to be at the top of my class, I will have to be connected with everyone, with all the teachers, with all the faculty. I should have a know-how of what's happening and how do I optimize my energy, my time, my slots. I will break it down into multiple details. And many companies lose out after step 2. They plan, they're very good at planning, but they fail in execution. The entire strength of a organization or a person is only in phase 3 and phase 4, only when you're able to deliver. Otherwise, people will say, you're just a talker, you're just a planner, you're a idea generating box. But you have to deliver. So the reason why we are clubbing phase 3 and phase 4 here is because in a life project, it is good to study here as phase 3 and phase 4 as independent phases. But these phase 3 and phase 4 parallelly run, because it is extremely difficult to draw a very clear separation line saying phase 3 ends here and phase 4 starts here. It's an extremely difficult activity to do that, even in projects, even in complex projects. So generally, people say it's a 4-phase project. Yeah, that people say it's a 4-phase project because they have merged phase 3 and phase 4. But for our purpose of understanding, we are trying to put it down as phase 3, phase 4, and also phase 5. But in ideally, phase 3 and phase 4, they are generally merged. Okay, now coming to the last phase. Okay, now I've lived, now I've done this project, I've tracked it, I've ensured that it is on track. Then how do I go about it? Then I'll have to wrap it up. Okay, this is a one-time project with a specific set of resources, which is a novel approach. I've brought in all these teams together. I have broken it down into detailed steps. I've tracked all of it so that it is on track. I have ensured that all the risks are contained. My quality deliverables have been delivered. I have shown performance. So tomorrow when Satish is giving me a performance appraisal, he gives me a very good appraisal. Now I will have to say, okay, now I will have to wrap up the project and I'll have to move on. So what do we do in project 5? We close the project. We extremely detailedly we document what has been done, what has not been done. One of the most important things is what you see in the last thing called reporting or documentation. More important than what worked is what did not work. So if you see even in the world outside, you would have seen a Flipkart, You would have seen an Amazon, a Zepto, a Swiggy, and all of, or a Rapido. So, but only one Rapido succeeded, or one Swiggy succeeded, or one Flipkart succeeded. But there are about probably 10,000 such e-commerce models which failed. We don't talk about it anywhere unless and until you are extremely interested and you research it for it. So what we do in project closure is, okay, these are all the good things that I did. These are all the things which worked. And these are all the things which did not work, which failed. So that once you very clearly document it, the next team which starts to come, or your own team, has much greater understanding, and you become, and this is your journey of becoming much better project manager also. Yeah, so I hope this frame is clear now. I will stop here. I'll pause for a minute to take your input, because then we will take an example and then get into the next steps.
Again, while you're responding, I'll also touch upon this fact. At your workplace or other forums where you are exposed to the philosophy of project management, you are likely to see a slightly varied version as an asset, right? Depending on the nature of the activity, depending on the need of or the practices in your organization, etc. They might club or further segregate one or two phases that you see here, and the representation might look slightly different. But in principle, all projects that we do more or less go through this same thing. Whatever names you call or however you segregate, the methodology remains more or less the same.
Any thoughts that anyone wants to talk it out here, or should I proceed?
Are we on the same page with respect to understanding of these phases?
With us?
Sairam here.
Yeah, no, you can actually go on. So yes.
Can you please brief about this post-mortem in the 5th point?
I will.
Brother, we will individually touch upon each of these phases. This is just a context setting. We will do.
Yeah, so
no, you can go on.
We just want you to understand that a general guidance is that a project goes through 5 phases of initiation and planning, then breaking it down, launch and execution, control, and closure. If you are with that in the last 30 seconds, then we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay. So just take a look at this. And I also want you to keep thinking about your own journey that you're taking. The concept which we started yesterday called life as a project. Your life also goes through certain initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, control, and all of that. So in each of these activities, so the graph that you see, the horizontal, the x-axis that you see, is time. So you can see it in terms of hours or days. If it's a NASA or a ISRO project, we will see in terms of minutes or seconds. Okay. And what you see on the y-axis here is the effort that goes into it. There are organizations. See, this is an ideal graph. Let me tell you, because otherwise there are some graphs in which initiation happens, planning happens. There is a lot of planning and execute. There are some companies where an execution starts to tank. They're not able to deliver. So they bring in new projects. They bring in a new team. Again, the project starts to start. Let's not get into those complicated thoughts. But the only thing that I'm trying to tell you is, this is an ideal graph in which an ideal project goes through. The complicated variations, we'll look at it later. But we only want you to understand this is effort. There is more and more effort as it goes higher and higher, and this is time. So what happens is you start slowly, you initiate the project, then you understand what is the need of each of the project. Why am I doing this project? Then once you understand, saying that, okay, Shivam and Sai Ramya, who are in front of my screen, they have identified this project which needs to be done. There is a need of this project. Then they start breaking it down, saying that what all needs to be done in this, what all needs to be done in this to do that. Then they start executing it. This is where all the teams are brought together, or everybody's energy is channelized together. Everybody starts fighting it out, getting the project done. There's a project dance that happens. And slowly, because the product is getting delivered, we come to the end of the music session. Slowly, we do a project closure, we document it, and then leave. This is the general narrative of a project. Okay. If this is what happens, what are all the detailed steps that get taken up in each of these phases? Project conception and initiation phase. So what do we do in this? We identify the need. We gather the data saying that, okay, you want to start your own startup. You're in college, or you're just graduating, or you want to start your own stuff. So you identify the need and saying that, okay, this need is not served in the market, whether it is a Gram Seva or a corporate project, whatever. Then you gather data. Is it whatever I'm thinking, is it correct or not? You gather information and data on it. Then you exactly specify saying that this is my goal. This is what I want to do. These are all the people that I have to bring on board. What did Gopi uncle think when he started, when the entire direction came saying that we will have to bring together NLP, we'll have to set up. So it's been about 7 years. So we brought in subject matter experts, we brought in project management guys, we brought in vice chancellors from different universities to create the content to each of the topics that you went. It took us about 2 years to even create the list of topics that should go into NLP. And so what is the objective? Vimal, can you please go on mute? Yeah, thanks. So the different stakeholders that needs to be brought in. What is the risk that is there? How do we need to sequence and strategize it so that... Okay, how do we need to sequence and strategize it so that it is brought in by... It is accepted by... so that it is accepted by Central Trust. So what are the alternatives for this? So even on the name of the program, it went through discussions for about 3 weeks. So then we presented the proposal, then we obtained an approval. So directionally, the planning was done. Then we had to get into the directionally, there was clarity saying that, okay, what do we have to do? How do we have to engage the youth? Then we got into the step 2. Okay, let's break it down. Let's break it down into what all needs to be done. Okay, the intention is to engage youth, have a bridge program after group 3. So, okay, the objective is clear, refined the objective, thought it out. Then we also looked at other courses which are there in the market. Then we broke it down saying that how Bhagwan's concept of leadership has to be seamlessly intertwined into this. So then we started breaking it down. So we appointed a key team. We completely created a baseline. When we set a baseline, we're saying, okay, where are we? Where do we want to go? Where are we? Where do we want to go? And this is the gap. We have identified this gap. Then we create a set of steps saying that step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7, step 150. So each of these steps we identified and said, okay, if this doesn't happen, then what? If this doesn't happen, then what? If this doesn't happen, then what? So what you see, this breaking down of steps, is called WBS, what you see on the slide here. It's called a work breakdown structure. It's called a work breakdown structure. So the same work that is there, we have broken it down into smaller and smaller steps. It's called a work breakdown structure. So this work breakdown structure has the entire master plan of who is there. Satish is there, Sri Ramya is there, Diddi Pravina is there, Shaktivel is there. We have to bring in all of them. When do I have to bring in Achyut? I have to bring in Achyut only on day 15. I have to bring in Manisha Tanneru only on day 37. Okay, so that entire master plan is created. Then
we began the session yesterday. I kept on emphasizing on the fact that it's a set of sequential activities, right? This is that part where you try to put together and try to visualize that sequence. That first, these set of people need to do this. Then these set of people need to come in after this activity is over, or the other 2 activities can actually happen in parallel, etc. This is that part wherein you understand who needs to do what and in what sequence and what order. So that gives you a large visualization as to how end-to-end things can be actually pulled.
Correct. So if let's say Ananda's specialization is finance and operations. So, but Ananda needs to come in on day 3. If Ananda comes and says, I will come in on day 55, dude, where is the money? So there are certain people, certain functions, certain operations, certain teams that you have to bring in on day 0, even before the project starts. Okay, so this entire detailing, which comes first, which comes next, which is followed by what, X can come only after P. All the sequencing is done in the master plan. So this entire thing gets into the planning part of it. Okay, next we discuss saying that phase 3 and phase 4 generally goes together. It is extremely difficult. Practically, it is extremely difficult to separate out and create a line and draw a Lakshman Rekha between phase 3 and phase 4. So what happens in phase 3 and phase 4? We set up the organization. Okay, now the team has been set up. Now we set up the organization. We have to set up the policies and procedures. This can be done. This cannot be done. Then we motivate the team and say, hey guys, this is what we want. This is the support we want. This is what we plan to achieve. And this is the time that we have to achieve. And Chakshu comes in, Baishaki comes in, everybody comes in. I said, okay, this entire team is now ready. Now they are all motivated. Now we clearly say, basing on the objectives and basing on the planning that has been done, we create a detailed set of requirements now. The detailed set of requirements in a project can go into hundreds of pages, because what used to be told in our previous organization was, don't have anything between your ears, have everything between covers. When you say everything between your ears, that is in your head. Don't have all the information in your head. Have everything between covers, meaning everything written down and documented. So even if I am not there, Satish should exactly know what project I was working on. Shivam should exactly know what project I was working on, where I was working on, how I was working on things. So that is the
even in the NLP parlance, when you undertake projects, right? Some of the projects could be of nature that even if you in this current batch have done it, you would want the future batches to understand how this has been done. So there, like brother said, simply pulling that through is not good enough. It is imperative that you document how this was done or who all came together, what were the various risks, how the risks were mitigated, etc. Documentation is a very important aspect because it gives transparency to to whoever who wants to view this, and at the same time, like brother mentioned, if that individual changes tomorrow, because the documentation is available, you have a ready reckoner as to how do you need to go to it.
Yeah, so let's say today me and Satish are there for taking the project management session. Let's say tomorrow he goes off to the US and I go off to Australia. This session should not tank, right? The next batch which comes in also should have a very good session. It should be completely documented. So what do? We completely very clearly document step by step, whether on the deck part of it or the PPT or what we want to do. You will start getting some documents soon when you start on the Satyasai National Leadership Project, which you have to do with your own samitis and state president. You will get a lot of documentation. So you will start seeing that everything is being documented. And after all these documentation, after bringing this entire team together, and we are all humans, right? We will do, even if there is a protocol, there's a code of dharma which is put, we will still keep vacillating, going here and there. We'll try our own experiments. So there are certain control systems which are established, saying this can be done, this cannot be done within the purview of the Satsai Seva organizations, because Swami's name and Swami's stamp and label are going out with it. So see, even in this slide, if you see on the top right, there is Bhagwan's photograph which is there. I can't put any nonsense on this slide and get away with it, because there are control systems which are there. So very clearly, so we know, we establish those systems, what can be done and what cannot be done. So right, like we were discussing, we create a complete master plan. In the master plan, we put in all resources, all details, all requirements, what all needs to be done, within what time, what cost, what are the risks which are there. And all these are put in, and continuously it is tracked. And continuously it is tracked to check whether is it on track, is it on track. This is where the project dance comes in. You saw the other musical conductor, right? Continuously he was not just waving any hand. If you observe, that is a musical symbolic notation which says note 1, note 2, note 3, note 4. So what he is moving his hands with his as a musical conductor, he is telling the teams, saying that play note 1, play note 2, play note 3, etc. So all this project dance happens in project phase 3 and phase 4. He is the one who he or she is the one who's continuously tracks and checks Is there adherence? We wanted to do it by 10 o'clock. Is it happening by 10 o'clock? Yes, no. We wanted to close by 10 o'clock. The session is from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Will we be able to close by 10 a.m. or not? So the project manager continuously tracks that. The final phase, project closure. Now that the product or the service or the project is done, we do an intensive review saying that, okay, what went well, what did not go well, who messed it up, who did not mess it up. So that Mahendra who is there, Mahendra and Akshay have done it well. Deepak and Saiguna have not done it well. So we say then, okay, what did not go well? So we document all the details. Then, okay, because the project is done, the time is done, the resource is done, we release the resources. Then we submit a final project report. Are we okay with this until now?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
No, we will take an example now. We will take an example from what we do in one of the NLP projects or what we have done in a Gram Seva so that you're better able to relate. I hope that's okay. I'll take a pause. If that's okay, I'll proceed to the next slide. If you have any questions, just let me know now. Yes, Gram Seva, we will take a Gram Seva project.
You think now we are good to go.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so coming back to our good old graph of how we started. So we've talked of 5 phases, saying that there is initiation, planning, monitoring and execution, and closure. Okay, let's take an example to understand this better. Grama Seva village identification. So we identify a new village based on the spiritual and social need which is there in that village. We understand saying that there are a lot of kids which are there in this village who have not studied, who are not studying. Then they're going for daily wage labor working. So how do you help support those kids? How do you support those other underserved brothers and sisters? So you do a complete analysis, you identify that village. You got to know it from one of the other brothers who had gone there for some other activity. You do a thorough study now. You do a survey. You gather as much information as possible. Then you present the findings to either to the Samiti convener or the district convener or the state convener. And you say, I think we should do this. So you're the project manager. Okay, just put yourself in the role of a project manager. Then you identify and say, this need is there, this sincere need is there in the village. We will need to do it for our brothers and sisters. If I'm able to educate my kids in my house, why should we not do that there? Then directionally, the project, your Samiti convener or state president says, okay, Akshay, that is fine, but give me the complete details. Okay, then you start, okay, I will break it down. Then you start breaking it down on the definition and planning phase. Then you plan for Narayan Seva or medical camp or Balvikas Day. Then he says, Akshay can't handle all of it. So he brings in Ramya, he brings in Satish, he brings in Sai Gunaranjan, then he brings in Kiran Naik, he brings in Sirisha, and different other stakeholders who are subject matter experts or team who handle different aspects of it. Then he appoints coordinators saying that you are responsible for medical camp, you are responsible for Balvikas, you are responsible for Narayan Seva. That's the reason we have national president, all India president, state president, all India president, zonal president, state president, Samiti conveners. Yes or no? There is very clear demarcation which happens. There are specific responsibilities which are assigned. Then you plan the entire thing. When do we have to go to that village? Then how do we have to go to that village? How many people will come? How many brothers and sisters will come? How many mahilas will come? How many children will come? How many vehicles do we need? What time do we go? And before you go, you have to take the permission from those village authorities saying that we are coming to do this seva. You have to get the permissions in advance. So you make a checklist of all these things. Then once your entire master plan is ready, then you take your district coordinator or state president's approval or some of the convener's approval, and then you get into action. This is the most important part. The beautiful part happens here. Action happens here in phase 3 and phase 4. Okay, you start conducting the seva. You execute the Narayan Seva. You have specific people who are only into cutting vegetables, who are specific subject experts who are like Nala beams, who are very good at cooking. Just to let you know, Satish also cooks well. Okay. Yeah, so there are brothers and sisters who are only into packing. Then there are brothers and sisters who are experts in transport logistics. I said, Anna, you forget all of that. Just give me the parcels. I will ensure that it is delivered. There are people who are experts in transport. Then there are brothers and sisters who are very, very sattvic people, who are not rajasic people, who will say, brother, just put me there. I will just do Narayan Seva. I will not get into any other thing other than serving. Don't give me cutting. Don't give me this job. I will only serve. So there are people with specialized expertise which start to come.
On
Then
a
there's a-
serious note, every project that you undertake, even in the parlance of this organization or elsewhere at your workplaces, maybe, these are all the personas that will you come across. Like brother said, right? People who are very, very specialized in a certain skill, but you'll also find people whose skills are multidimensional. Then it is the onus of the project manager at this point of time where his skills are needed more. Like for example, in a cricket match, that one could be a specialized bowler, one could be a specialized batter, but then there is an all-round. So when do I need a specialized bowler, or when do I need an all-rounder to pitch in, right? So this is a judgment call that the project manager takes. But yeah, go.
Yeah, it's a cricket match. Good thought. So there have been so many captains who came and went. Why did only Dhoni stand out? There were so many people who came and went. Why did only the Master Blaster stand out? That's a thought for you. I'll leave it there. But let's coming back. So coming back to the execution phase. So whether it's a medical camp or a Bal Vikas, you completely detail it out. Then you saying that who should be standing where in the drama, when should the curtain go up, even in this slide deck, when should the next animation come. There you are, as a project manager, you assign complete very clear roles of who should do when, where, what, why, and how. So and then once it happens, then let's say suddenly my power went out. For example, 15 minutes back, my battery charging had immediately gone out. That's a live issue. I have to handle it. Otherwise, the project presentation will shut down. And Satish is keeping on talking there, right? There's no deck for him to look at. So then all small issues you will start to handle as a project manager. Then let's say you just like we started yesterday. You are making biryani for prasadam. But does anybody give biryani for prasad? Okay, that's a different thing. Then suddenly the food is burnt. Then the rice is burnt. Then you don't have additional rice. You'll have to run towards different village shops and get rice. Then like the other sister said yesterday, brother, we planned for 30, but 300 turned up or 270 turned up. She texted on the group yesterday. So how do you when Lord Narayana himself has come to do partake of the seva that you get, you can't send him say no brother, we cooked only for 30 people, 240 people, bye bye, Om Sai Ram. You will have to figure out that. Then you check saying that okay, there are some brothers and sisters who are serving very very slow because they're full of love. Everyone they wants to give personal focus and say are you ensure that, but because of that personal focus, another 10 more people are not getting served at all. So all these issues you'll start to manage. And last, project closure. Once okay, you've done you've done your entire project dance, you've done everything
Yes,
is going well.
one quick thought. Even when we are in the phase of conducting the seva activity, right? Like brother said, a lot of the things which we did not plan for, which were not a part of our syllabus, can also pop up there, right? You might enter to a new territory, some new kinds of difficulties, and new kinds of challenges. Even when you allocate tasks to people, there are multifaceted people there, right? Some might be very efficient, some might be very new to this kind of activity, they'll take time. So how do you ensure that everything is in check? That is where we have discussed, right? It is the project manager's onus to keep a track on the iron triangle. This is why repeated periodic discussion, even when the execution is happening. Like in companies, we have review meetings or stand-up calls. Those things exist for a purpose. Just because the project manager understands, everybody understands, hey, this is where we are today. This is the work that is still remaining to be done. If this does not happen, people are engrossed in their own work, people are engrossed in their activities. But what if the constraint of time is breached? This activity, which was supposed to be in 2 hours, now we are well past the time, but we just did not know where to stop. How does somebody ensure to, whistle it when it actually when the time is up? That is where the project manager continuously engages and takes stock of the situation. And there are periodic discussions or daily calls of sorts to understand, okay, where do we stand today? Even here, right? Even let's say when we do even a day-long activity of Gram Seva, somebody who's in charge of this keeps a constant vigil on the watch. By this time, this activity should have been completed. Have we reached there? If not, what is the challenge? Maybe this particular activity, which I thought 2, 3 Sevadal can complete, maybe that's not enough. I might need to pull in more people. So in order to get the constant monitoring is something that is very essential even during the execution.
Correct. Okay, so successfully with Swami's grace, you have done a good Gram Seva, medical camp went off very well. So now you'll have to say Om Sai Ram, thank you for all your support. This is the thank you phase to everyone, and then start leaving. So what do? You do a post seva, then you do a team review with Harati. You give Harati to Bhagwan and sing a bhajan, then have Harati. Then you document your learnings. Then you take photographs, videos to put it as to share it with your internal teams. Thank volunteers. Then you document it, then move on. This is how, if at all a Gram Seva project has to be mapped, directionally, this is how we'll map it into our 5 phases. I'll take a pause here. Brothers, if there's any thoughts of yours, we'll take your thoughts here. Any questions that you have?
You can raise hands. Yeah, Pratik, please go on.
Yeah, Sairam, good morning.
Sairam.
It's really wonderful, which we are getting exposed to. Just one scenario where in corporate life, like as you mentioned, there are for a project manager, there will be a for any project. In one of the slides, it was where we have the sponsor, client, project team, SMEs. So there will be many people who will not be like opposing the project, or you can say like not in your favor. You have to deal with such team members many times. So at the same time, you can't. It becomes difficult to deliver the project due to such team members who won't cooperate with you, or so how can we go about that way, handle that situation at the same time, not even insulting or that insulting, but at the same time getting the work done.
Okay, Satish, do you want to take that or should I take it?
No, you can. I'm engaged in a chat. You can.
Okay, so brother, I'll give you an example. I was the project manager. So we were stitching, I'll give you a corporate example itself. So we had the project mandate to link up 13 different business entities. So when I say 13 different business verticals, it can be hospitals, pharmacy, Spectra, sugar, clinics, diagnostics, so dental. So 13 different business entities. We had to bring it down under one umbrella and create a loyalty management program for all subscribers. Health loyalty membership kind of a program. So each of these verticals has its own CEO who's got his own set of egos and ambitions and all of that. He did not want to come under this unified umbrella. He or she, whoever it is. Okay. So, but the intention was there. So it was a really good intention because as a group, we would have benefited. But individually, probably each of the verticals, they had to share their information. They had to send out people. They had to assign resources. If let's say if Sachin is assigned from hospitals to this entity, Sachin can't work in that other vertical, right? So if that happens, so why will that other leader let him go? So what did we do? There are some people who will act. So in life, if 100 people are building it, there will be 1,000 people who will be working against the system. And as a project manager, it is your role to ensure that's a risk. That's a risk management that you will have to continuously do. So what did we do? So until a point, we ensured that we kept all the stakeholders informed, continuously, completely transparent on communication. But then they were trying kuch na kuch bahana banate the. There were some rules or other. Then what did we do? So we had the backing of the promoters, of the managing director and chairman. So as a project manager, they will only test me saying that, Sai, have you delivered or not? Is the project on track or not? It doesn't matter for them. Just shut up and deliver in corporate. Okay. So what did we do? So
also in corporate, we have something called an escalation matrix. While let's say Gunana is responsible for pulling the strings and organizing the project, in case that there are difficult quarters to negotiate, there will always be an escalation matrix where you can say,
escalate it to someone
rationally
else.
go and seek help like rather than using the word escalation, I would rather look at it as a support mechanism where, okay, maybe for a given stakeholder, his individual priorities are not completely aligned, or the priorities of his managing team are not completely aligned with the project charter. That is where you might need to deliberate it at a level beyond this, so that where this can be brought into a fruitful conclusion.
Correct. So I will have to, in that situation, when CEOs are creating problems, what do I have to do? I have to get into a level or use some expertise wherein who can shoot down the CEOs or who can get the CEOs to deliver according to my mandate. So what did I do? I went to the project, the overall project chairman or the project managing director. So madam was there, so we told her, briefed her one-on-one, this is what is happening, this is how Satish and Sai are actually creating problems in the entire project, and we got their support. And then she called for a meeting, saying that, okay, she called for a meeting saying that, okay, please give me an entire overall project update on what is happening. We told them this is what we are doing on the entire project update. We are waiting. So it is pending with hospitals, it is pending with pharmacy, pending with clinics. Then she asks the CEOs themselves, why is it pending? So they can't say no to the MD. So you have, it's a soft push which comes. So you will, so as a project manager, is your role is to ensure that timelines are delivered, project is delivered, scope is not breached, and all of it. And you will have to involve yourself in a lot of soft push in case it's not only a hardcore resource management. There are a lot of hard resources, there are a lot of soft resources that you will have to do. Okay.
Also, there is a framework here called power influence matrix. Which stakeholder needs to be negotiated or tackled through which kind of approach? Right? Like Anna said, sometimes if the stakeholder is creating an issue or he's having a problem, but he's within your radar, in your own immediate team, a direct conversation with him can actually help, because by the virtue of authority that the organization has vested in you, you have every right to appraise his performance or ask what exactly you need from him in this project. Sometimes it can become tricky where your project needs to onboard somebody who's not directly in your chain of command or in your larger team. That is where power influence matrix comes in. Whose buy-in do I need to get in order to influence his thought process? For example, if Guna and me are in different team, for some reason Guna has a different opinion and his different opinion is impeding my project's progress. What do? Check up who's Guna's boss, find a way that I can maybe either approach him directly or ask my +1 to reach out to Guna's boss and say, hey, I think this is where the project is stuck because your team and my team seem to have not been able to reach to an agreement. Let's get into a discussion and see what is the problem, what best can be done. And even in all these situations, need not always be a black and white situation. Sometimes collectively as stakeholders of the same larger project, we'll have to find our own golden mean, the gray path, where we agree that, okay, if not completely, this is the extent till which we can support, and then we will have our own mitigation plan. That's how generally things work.
Yeah. So to just touch upon that topic, so from Sankhya philosophy, if you see, say every human being, all of us have the Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic nature at different points in time. So sometimes I'm extremely excited. Let's do this, Satish, let's go, let's do this, etc. Satish tells me saying that, no, brother, don't do this. Let's do only 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's not do 5, 6, 7. Okay. So that's my Rajasic aspect of things. So at the different points in time, the same people, you will have to use different kinds of motivation in your own team. If somebody is not falling in line, but he's normally a very supportive guy, but once or twice he behaves erratically. So then you should be able to empathize and understand, okay, there is some issue which is getting created here. So there are different theories of motivation, of how do you go about involving. So this matrix of Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic that you see here, are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay. This Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, and the Samadhana, Beda, Dand, the 4 different types of. So you have 12 different combinations of what you can use. And this was one of the lessons that Bhishma taught on his deathbed to Yudhishthira. When Lord Krishna tells Yudhishthira to go and learn Rajaniti from Bhishma, one of the out of the multiple lessons that Bhishma teaches Yudhishthira, this is this matrix of how he should handle different people at different points in time and with different levels of motivation was one of the things that Bhishma taught Yudhishthira. Okay, so just like you said, power influence matrix. So this is how you influence people at different points in time, bearing on different scope, etc. So let's come back. So we will come back to that same project management part again. Am I able to not share it again? Has it come?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we were here. So any questions that you have on this before we proceed? We have another 15 minutes. So I think we'll keep it very crisp and short.
See, for each of these phase, there will be a certain kind of documentation that the team will be required to adhere to, just for the purpose of for us, the larger project management team, to monitor or to help you out as in your project management journey. None of those documentations are universal, neither are the phases. This is us trying to tell you, typically any project goes through these phases. Any particular questions that you have?
Yeah, so see, I think one of the brothers has asked about detailing if we can explain that, Shashank, Samadhana, Beda, Dand, and the motivation. If we have time, we'll definitely take it up, brother. But you can also look it up. If you have time, we'll definitely see. It's definitely see a sattvic person. You cannot use Dand. For example, Shashank, let's say you're a very focused, very productive guy. Okay, so I cannot take a danda and come to you and say do and keep hitting you. Otherwise, Shashank, if you don't do this, I will terminate you. I can't even use language like that. I can say, Shashank, I know normally you're a very productive person. You're extremely focused. Today you look distracted. Why are you distracted? Is there anything that I can support you with? Do you want to take the day off? Or something is troubling you? Is there something that you want to talk to me? See, you use this mechanism for a sattvic person. Let's say Sai Gunaranjan, every day he comes late to office. He doesn't do things. He thinks it's a government job. Whether it is there done or I will get my salary. Then you can't say go to Sai Gunaranjan and say, brother, every day you are normally like this. How you please deliver, brother. नहीं होगा. उतार के मारना है लोगों को.
That is where, like, one of the example that I put in chat in Ramayana, there is an episode. This is actually from Ramcharitmanas, where Lord Rama and his entire army, they stand at the shore of the ocean and they request, "Hey, I have to go and rescue Sita to Sri Lanka. Can you please part ways so that my army can pass?" 3 days pass, but the ocean doesn't comply. There is no response. That is where Rama says to Lakshman, "Bring my Kodanda. Now it's time for action." That's right. विनय न माने जलति जड़ गए 3 दिन बीत बोले राम से कोप तब भय बिन होती प्रीत. Last line, भय बिन होती प्रीत. Sometimes without the fear of authority, there generally will not be complaints. So if sometimes all stakeholders cannot always function or will not always oblige when you ask them politely. That is where you have to use your power of authority or that has been vested in you rightfully in order to get your work. That this is actually an example from Ramcharitmanas I just put in chat.
Great. Wonderful. Very true.
Yes, brother. Wonderful example. It's in context when Sri Ram prays lovingly to Samudra that gave him path to way to Lanka.
But it doesn't do anything. That's why it tells Lakshman. Now you bring my Kodanda, you see how it will fall into.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take one last question from Raghavan before we proceed. Okay, brother.
Hi, brother. So we saw 5 phases of projects, and we saw the gunas or the motivational 12 different kinds of motivations that we can use. So in which phase, which is the kind of motivation that will be predominant? So when to use which one? So that
Okay, so okay. See, those are different techniques that you need to employ to get to that is across all phases. You can't say this technique is for one phase. See, that becomes part of your nature. So when, for example, let's say Sai is not doing, Sai has very focusedly done phase 1, phase 2, but he's not delivering in phase 3. Okay. Then Satish comes in and says, why are you not doing it? But let's say Sai has not been doing it from phase 1 at all, from the first time, but he's been put in that team. See, you are only as strong as your weakest link. You would have heard this sentence. Okay. The chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If I am the weakest link, the weakest resource in the entire team, I'm not delivering. Satish will not be able to deliver. Right? So the kind of strategy that you will use, the way you will respond to the strongest link, let's say Sachin is there, or Praveena's sister is there, or Ambika is there. These are very strong resources who are there in the team, right? You will not take a danda and go to them saying that if you don't do tomorrow, you are thrown out. I will not let you enter inside the Samiti at all. You can't do that, right? See, some death has happened in some family, and they are shaken up. But normally they're extremely productive. They are on time for every seva, and they are the last person to leave even after cleanup. Right? So you can't use the same strategy at everything. As a project manager, you will have to put on different hats for different people. So you might put on the criminal hat for me when you're dealing with me, but you might put on the Satyasai hat when you're dealing with Satish. Same place, same time. For different people, you might use different strategies. Okay. So there is no one single strategy. There is no one single rule. Okay. You will learn that as you become more and more mature. That's the reason we said a 1-year project manager deals with things differently. A 20-year-old project manager deals with things differently. He's much more mature, he or she, much more mature. They've seen more life. They've got more beaten up, got more slaps in life. So that's life. Okay. So even in the game of life, so Swami has said, life is a challenge, meet it. Life is a dream, realize it. Life is a game, play it. Life is love, enjoy it. Bhagwan has also said, hands that serve are holier than the lips that pray. But that hands should know, right? What to do, where to do, how to do, when to do. And that's project management. The hands that serve, they need to know what to serve, when to serve, how to serve.
There is a saying, knowledge without compassion is inhuman. Compassion without knowledge is ineffective. While the intent is there to serve, at the same time, you should have the right skill set to serve it properly.
Correct. Okay, so life itself is a project. So we discussed that yesterday. So you also all of you went and did your homework. If any of you was not able to take out those 2-3 minutes, please do that homework today of how mapping your own life as a golden triangle and see what best we can do. Okay, so the confluence of what you see here in life, your spiritual life has your own project plan. So please take a minute. We'll stop for a minute and ask yourself, in this 5 phases that we did, planning, initiation, planning, execution, control, and closure, where am I? Please take out that time of what you're good at, what are you doing, and what does the world need? How are you able to plow your own heart to do things better? Take out that time, that 1-2 minutes, and think through. So that's so then after that, now we'll get into, now that we've understood what project is, difference between project and operations. We've understood what all different aspects go into project, what phases go into a project, what tools. So we've understood saying that normally what is the general flow of a project, right? So we already said, Satish said, it's only a general narrative of how projects directionally flow, whether it's a seva project or a service project or a corporate project. But right now in the market, just so that you get a feel for the next 5 minutes, there are a lot of different techniques, new age projects which are there. But the foundation is the same for each of these. So I'll request Satish to take you through the different frameworks which are there in the market so that you get a sense of it. We are not wanting you to make experts. Just get to know the names. Just understand. The foundation, whatever we have discussed from yesterday and today, is the same. Over to you, Satish.
Thank you, brother. I see that some people have questions. So in the interest of time, see my iron constraint here, the time constraint is already poking me, telling that I have only 3 minutes left, but nevertheless. So brothers, we will take the questions either at the end of the session or we'll compile it and I'll get back to you because we have this ground to cover.
Bhaiya,
So
can
first of all,
can you just
yeah,
move? Can you just move to the previous slide for just for 1 second?
yeah, brother.
There's a scope creep here. There's a time creep which is happening.
एक
So
और
you have
इसके
to allow
पहले
us
वाला
5 minutes.
Yes. Admin, you have noted that. I hope. Yeah. Go on.
इसके एक और पहले वाला
Anyway,
yeah, this
brother, you will have, they will send across the
yeah.
deck and you'll also get the contact details. In case you also feel free to write to us. We'll reply back to each and every question that you have. No problem.
ठीक है,
Done
आगे
भैया.
बढ़े फिर. ठीक.
Right.
Okay. So as far as the slide is concerned, first disclaimer. You already might be doing the techniques that we will touch upon here, whatever these frameworks are supposed to serve. So for those who are looking at these for the first time or are hearing, nothing to be worried about. This is just a glorified way to jargonize whatever you're already doing. There is nothing really special. But yes, it's always good to know that these are the commonly used frameworks that are there in the market. On the left that you see, that is a typical, you can say, okay, any project that we do in industry, right? In 21st century, where there are more or less two methodologies that are followed, two kinds of projects. One project which is highly sequential in nature, wherein you have one activity, after that you have the next activity, then you have set of parallel activities, etc. For example, if you, I'm not, how many of you are familiar with this game of rugby or American football? At least you have seen it. Even I don't understand that game properly, but you have seen rugby football. People like warriors, they run into each other, right? So one interesting property of that game is during a session, team that once advances cannot go back. Once you have covered this ground, your game resumes until you actually hit the goal. Your game resumes from that point. The most important aspect being progress once made, you just do not get to revert back. So this kind of planning is called a waterfall plan. Waterfall, why? Because when you visualize it, the set of activities when represented, they look like cascading. Water when it falls from one level to the other, right? This project plan, this technique actually follows this very representation. One, because of gravity, water doesn't go back up, right? Once it falls, it eventually has to go forward. What kind of industries use this? Projects which are manufacturing or let's say construction industry. Because there, once you have done certain activity, let's say you are constructing a dam, once you have laid the foundation, once, let's say, all right, the excavations, etc. have happened, you don't, and after that, you do the concrete pouring and erection of the structure and then finally grouting, etc. Right? You don't get to do the reverse way. During the grouting, you realize, array, foundation mein to ye karna bhul gaya. Then you don't get to destroy the entire thing and open the dam, right? You simply cannot do that. So one has to exercise extreme caution at each step. It has to be QC approved. Quality checks have to be done because once done, generally you don't get to revert. So that philosophy is called you can say waterfall technique of project management. Likewise, there is another aspect. In case of software development, generally what happens? You add certain value to the project, you make some advancements, but then again you come back to the drawing board and then you discuss, isko yaar kaise kar sakte the? What else we could have done? Is this okay? Then again you go forward and then you add certain other increment, then again you come back. A typical example when you build a software application, right? The application, when you open it in your phone, it will have a landing page where it will tell welcome, etc. Or it might have a login page where you're supposed to enter your user ID and password. Person working on this might be a different developer. And once you logged in, let's say in an e-commerce app, you will have the listings of different items that the platform is suggesting to sell, right? The person working on this particular aspect of that app might be different. There is no dependency that only after you complete this, you have to do this. While actually in the user journey, definitely only after you log in, you get to see this. But during the development phase, this person can do the landing page. This person can work on, this developer can work on the other page wherein you have all the products being listed out. They can then again come back to the drawing board. discuss what else they could have done. Again, they go back and they go forward. So what this kind of technique, which is more recent, has introduced is the flexibility. You can go forward, go back, go forward, go back till the complete value realization is done. This method is called agile method. Mostly it is used in software, but of late, even other industries are slowly adopting some of these practices because compared to a waterfall, it allows the project team to have certain flexibility of going back in. Then you have something related to that is a cycle here called CACD, continuous improvement, continuous delivery. Again, I'll take the example of a software application. The reason being primarily this is where these are more applicable. You have built an application, but when you tested it out in the market, users did not like certain aspect of it. Maybe the payment gateway, right? Once you have added items to the cart and you go for your payment gateway where you do this UPI or you select card, etc. That page, some glitches there. It's not working properly. Then what do? You don't scrap the complete application in order to get them, right? That is the beauty of Agile. For that particular part alone, in the background, there can be a correction that can be done while users still continue to live with the suboptimal application. Once this improvement is ready in your Play Store, etc., you get an update saying that hey, a new version of this application has come, right? That's how it works. When you download that, it will tell these bugs have been fixed or these defects have been fixed. The process of slowly rectifying things or adding value to an existing product without actually collapsing the entire thing, that is what the CI/CD is all about. We call it DevOps, off late DevSecOps, whatever. But just for the larger understanding, general understanding, continuous improvement, continuous delivery. You keep on delivering while refining the application without having to collapse it or completely building it from scratch. I hope I made sense. Then apart from this, there are certain other tools and techniques that are used. First is the process flowchart. Process flowchart is nothing but a pictorial representation of the sequence of activity. Universally, process flowchart has elements which are basically boxes. Different kinds of boxes serve different purpose. If you see, start and end have a particular shape. They represent the terminal points of the project. Alarm ring, climb out of the bed, activities, right? Where you generally have to clearly call out this is an activity that has to be done by some. This is where you use certain kind of rectangular boxes. There are boxes where you seek input from users, where somebody has to give you a feedback. Only after that you have to proceed to the next step. Those are represented in parallel pipettes. And then you have this rhombus, which is usually a decision-making box. A rhombus in flowchart represents at that point of time, one has to decide either you take this route or you take that route. Let us say a particular transaction. If it is successful, the following steps should happen. If it fails, this set of steps should happen. But any flowchart, a correct flowchart should always have a logical flow from end to end. Even if I take this route or that route, eventually they should lead me to the end point. That is the intent. Then this, I would like to spend some time. Work breakdown structure, brother has spoken about, right? The various kind of activities that will constitute your project. Now, when you try to put them together in a way where they show that which activity has to be done by whom, what is the start date and end date, this work breakdown structure on the left can be then visually represented into a Gantt chart. Now, somebody in the chat asked what a Gantt chart is. The sequence that you see on the right, where you see progress bars against each of the activities against a calendar up top. It says activity 1 will start from 22nd of February and it will continue till a certain point of time in future. So Gantt chart, this is how actually Gantt chart helps, where you have all the activities plotted out visually. Generally, how do you use it? When you plan the project, you will have the expected timelines plotted in a Gantt chart. Against that, as and when work is being done, as and when milestones are getting completed, the project manager updates the actual completion percentage also. Usually they are represented through different color codes. So first you have a complete Gantt chart which will be completely blue in nature, color. Then based on the percentage, certain portions of them will be green, meaning for this activity, this much percentage of work has been completed, this much is left. Work breakdown structure and Gantt chart go hand in hand. They are a visual sequential representation of the set of activities that you will have to do. This is something that as a project manager, like it will help you to track the progress of the project and to see what all tasks are pending within the timeline, the remaining of the task. Can you be able to complete that? If not, what support you might need. You might need to add some more resources than you actually have. The one person is assigned now that the timeline is coming closer. And if you feel like, for example, Guna Anna, if alone he is not able to do, he might decide that he might want to pull in someone else to assist him in that. So these kind of decisions and all can be taken once you have this kind of information available. Next. PERT, program evaluation and review technique. It's actually an old school way of tracking projects. Basically, here you have different set of sequential activities, more like a waterfall representation. You have swim lanes that represent what phase each activity. In this, for example, it is, you see analysis, design, build, testing. It's a typical software. These phases are representing various phases of a software. You can building a software. Each of this activity has start date, end date, number of days it is needed, number of people who will be needed to work on that. And you have an accountability. Who's accountable? If this activity is slowing down, as a project manager, whom can I pull up? As to, boss, please explain why this is slow. So these are the kind of information. And again, I'm being very honest, PERT is actually an old school technique. We have much more sophisticated versions of this available. Project dashboard. Now here, okay. Project manager uses the project work breakdown structure and Gantt chart for his tracking and for the larger squad to appraise them that this is the progress, this is what has to happen, etc. But at a very senior level, there are a lot of other associated metrics which you want to visualize along with the project as well. For example, if this project started, in this phase, we would have expected this much progress with this much expenditure. Against that, what is the status? Is it a red? Is it a green? Is it an amber? The traffic light system, right? Red means we are in serious trouble. We are going back. Green means we are doing good, either in line or ahead of the line. Yellow means at present we are struggling, but not very alarming at an alarming rate yet. If we have some intervention, we can surely improve. Generally, senior leadership in organizations prefer these kind of information in a very concise yet visually self-explanatory manner. That is why dashboards come into picture. You might have heard of tools like Power BI, Tableau, etc. These are nothing but they show the same set of information in simple graphs or gauges or histograms, etc., wherein somebody can quickly make an inference, okay, this is in red means there is some intervention needed. Then I can call a discussion with that relevant team as to explain me why it is red. But to get that first-hand information as to what is the health of the project, dashboards are generally extremely useful. Next. Fishbone diagram. Okay. Also known as YY analysis, also known as Ishikawa, because the structure that we use here that resembles the skeleton of a fish, the fishbone. So at any point of project, sometimes let's say if we are stuck somewhere, there is a problem. Rather than a project management tool, it's more like a problem solving tool. If I'm stuck, let's say a particular component in my vehicle is not working as I expect. If I then decide to investigate what is the root cause analysis. This is a very powerful Japanese tool that helps us figure out what the root cause is. How does it actually work? If you see the structure of the fishbone, Anna, can you go back to the previous slide? If you see the structure of the fishbone, the problem is on the box towards the end of the fishbone. Custom order lead times is greater than 7 days. Meaning my problem is my lead time for this custom order more than 7 days, which might not be acceptable to my customer. So what are the various reasons that could possibly do this? So when I go through these reasons, first of all, I'll brainstorm all the reasons as to what could go wrong, why this could happen. Let us say orders are delayed because of so-and-so reason. What is causing that so-and-so? And what is causing the reason for which this is getting delayed? Likewise, at various hierarchy, I'll keep on investigating as to why. For example, I wanted to play a cricket match, but the pitch was wet. Why? Because there was rain. Why? Was the forecast, did it call for rain? No, it was not even. The forecast said sunny, but still there was rain. Why? What actually happened? Why this could have? Likewise, to the depth when till I'm satisfied, I'll keep on doing this why analysis. And once I gather all the root causes, I'll bucket them in different categories. Usually we call them 6 M's: material, method, manpower, machinery, etc. Meaning this YY can be attributed to people, that is man. That is, if I do some training or if I change the people who are working or if I train them better, maybe this problem can be solved. Likewise, there can be some reasons which can be attributed to the equipment that I'm using, machine. maybe my choice of equipment for this activity was not correct. Likewise, there is Mother Nature. Everything is in order, but let's say there was a cyclone which is beyond my control. Then, of course, there is nothing I could have done. So, all the possible root causes that could have contributed to the failure at the end of that fishbowl is something that we try to analyze here. We bucket them into man, machine, method category. And for each of the root causes, then we go on validating. Just because us assuming that it could be a root cause is not enough. We will have to use data, we'll use analytical tools to verify whether this actually is the root cause or not. This is generally a problem solving. Yeah, and now over to you. So here are some wonderful examples Gunanna will touch upon before we wrap this session.
Okay, so let's see, yesterday we spoke about, we tried to keep it as simple as possible, but let's also see if at all there's a situation wherein how does a corporate project look like? If we have to, before we start a mega project. So there are a lot. So this is, we're looking at the first one. We're looking at a sample detailed budget. How do we prepare a budget? So when you're doing your NLP project, you would be required to say something that, okay, I need your state president will be your project manager. Okay, you will have to tell him, I need so many resources, I need so much of money for building this, I need to go to that Gram Seva to do this. So you will create how much is an operational expenditure, how much is a one-time expenditure, what is a recurring expenditure. Sir, no, sir, this is a 6-month project. We'll have to regularly keep going and coming, etc. So you will start budgeting it. So similarly, in a corporate, when you're looking at, so we'll take hundreds of such assumptions to do, saying that what are my general assumptions, what are my city launches which are going to do. In the case of this is a project which has been done in the case of blood and emergency medical logistics, saying that if we have to transport blood, how many are short-term cases, how many are long-term cases, which Chennai, how many orders will come per day in each of these cities, how do we need to budget for it, saying that what are the blood components that go into it, what is the revenue that comes out of it, what is the working capital that we will need. So whole set of assumptions we start building it out, saying that okay, what are the resources that we will need. So you'll need regional operational managers, senior product managers, growth product managers, technology team, you will need data engineers, you need a learning team, finance team. So how much will you pay for each of these guys? So what are the legal expenses? What capital expenditure do you want? Capital expenditure meaning it's a one-time expenditure. I need a printer and scanner, I need a finance system, I need a salary management software, I need some office stationery. One-time expenses are, I will have to budget for some kind of auditing that has to be done. So everything is documented. Then hundreds of there are about 370 assumptions in this sheet. So each of these assumptions is linked up. Then you start to see the profitability, saying that then you make your P&L statements. How much will it cost? How much is my revenue? When will I break even? What is my fund requirement? If I go to the market, how much of money should I take from the investors? So every detail starts to go into it. Field quality, cloud, call centers, every aspect is actually looked into this. So that is on the detailed budget part of it when we're doing a bigger project. Okay, and let's look at the third one, sample detailed documentation. We checked here saying that we will develop detailed requirements, right? So even in order to, so that everyone is on the same page, if at all we have to build that kind of requirements document, another sample, we'll just go through that if it's a, so this is a project flowchart already which Satish has taken you through, saying that what is the start point, what are the swim lanes, what are the decision boxes at each level, how do you go about multiple such so that once, if you also read the process flow, everyone is on the same thought process, the same we all talk the same language. Where should OTP go in the system, where should OTP not go in the system, where should it throw up error, etc. So every requirement is penned down in great detail. So this is one of the requirements which we had done for developing a system, so which goes into hundreds of pages. So if I have to give some loyalty points or reward points, how do I give it? When do I unblock it? When do I check for OTP validation? How do I check what all different things should be blocked? So there's a very detailed documentation which starts to go. So that is on the second part of it. Okay. And
for each of these phases, to help you in your NLP project, we will help you with templates actually,
Yeah, we'll give
wherein
you.
the requisite information pertaining to different phases, right, can be easily filled. That is for the purpose of us being able to review and help you in your project, NLP project. None of these templates, none of the stuff that we discussed need to be universal. Depending on the practice of the organization, you might have a flowchart in a certain format. Any other company might have. All of these are extremely contextual and based on the requirement of the organization.
Okay, so let's look at the last one. We said a live Gantt chart of a complex project. So there are about, so this project which was done about a couple of years back, there are about some 200 activities which are there. There are projects wherein you do 2000 activities, 3000 activities. So what you see on the right side is a Gantt chart. What you see on the left side is a work breakdown structure, saying each of the work has been broken down into smaller and smaller activities, and everything has a date, everything has a time. And we know which activity comes before what, and who is the owner for each of these activities. Sudhakar is the owner for this, Mohit is the owner for this, etc. And what you see here is a waterfall model. This activity happens only after this. This blue color activity will start only after this green color activity is closed, right? So, and everywhere, so this activity, what you see, are you able to see my mouse pointer?
Yes.
Present.
Okay, so this activity will start only after this activity is done. So every activity has a name.
So
has a start
even
date,
if you are not
has a-
well versed with how the Apollo group operates, but merely at looking at this representation, it is fairly simple for you to figure out which activity followed what sequence and which activity had a dependency on which activity. Until
Correct.
this activity is completed, we cannot be started. That's something Gantt chart helps us to visualize quite easy.
Correct. So that's the only intention, so that you get a fair view of how things are managed. This you've already seen. So wherein if the project requirements, why do we undertake all these project requirements, documents, control, documentation, so that we don't land up with this kind of a mess. So that as a user or as an NLP student, you asked for just a bench to ride on, but what you really needed and what was delivered was something way different. Okay.
See, if the customer did not explain it properly, like in this illustration, the project management team will bring in top-end think tanks and they'll deliberate and they'll create an over-engineered solution, which might simply be not something that the customer will need. It will only be expense of money and energy. Hence, documenting and capturing requirements very clearly is like of the utmost importance. I'll leave it to the slide for you to figure out what can go wrong if the requirements are not given in great detail. So whatever has been put on the left, right, the characteristics of an elephant, if you see on the right, the actually team delivered every single thing. And in fact, there is a value add also. Now tell me on paper,
Just
if
take
the
a minute and
customer now
read this
decides to
slide.
sue the project management team in a court of law, where did the project management team go wrong? Where it has a trunk, the one
They
on the right
made
also
the
has a
cow.
trunk.
They have made the cow an elephant
That
by
exactly, unless you explicitly call for an elephant, if you give characteristics at a very superficial level, even for the cow, they were able to have these characteristics. They were able to produce these characteristics and deliver it. This is exactly why detailing of in requirement gathering is very important. So that the project management team should not assume that they want to build something, whereas the customer requires something fundamentally different. That's it.
Okay, so we will stop there, and please send us your questions, and we will reply back to all of these
I
questions.
also we do acknowledge that this could be a lot of content to be covered in couple of days or couple of sessions. Hence, with that as a North Star, we tried to simplify this content to the extent possible. Some of these, I understand there could be a lot of curiosities, but yes, the org team is kind enough to come gather all these questions, and once they send it across to us, we will definitely answer every single question for sure.
So we will let you off from here. Please send us your questions. We'll be more than happy to answer. So
Thank you all for your patient audience and wonderful engagement.
We are sorry that there's a time creep of 20 minutes, but we'll stop here.
Thank you, brothers. Om Shri Sai Ram, dear brothers and sisters. When Sunday starts with an NLP session, it's always a very, it's always considered to be a blessing. And the 2 sessions on project management, I'm pretty sure it would have brought a lot of clarity and cleared a lot of confusions, and also would have been an initiation to these lessons for the first time, you know. So when past in 2021, when I was learning project management, I was very new then because I was just studying my master's, and now in today's session, when I'm trying to connect these dots with what I am currently working on and how it is going to help me, it has been such a great journey all this while. First of all, thanking brother Satish and brother Saiguna for for bringing out and putting out all these amazing examples and the content out there. And I'm pretty sure it would have really imprinted in all our brains, hearts, and minds. And all those who are planning to start their work life and who are already there, it's really helpful for them. A small announcement from the LMS side that the faculty feedback activity will open at 9:30 a.m. today. Yeah, and on LMS, and it will be there till Wednesday, end of the day. So please take out time and do these assignments as well. And it's also very important that we take out time after these sessions to reflect upon what we have learned. How can we actually make it a part of our lives? You know, only when we start doing it on a personal level, we can actually start reflecting them back in our workspace, in our family life, as well as in the larger society picture. And we all know that the perfect and the best project manager we came across in our life is none other than our beloved Swami. How he took up so many things, how he initiated so many things, and he knew that, okay, I got to bring these many people into this project, and that's how it will work out. So that kind of understanding and thought process is something we all are trying to march towards to. And I would personally like to wish everyone all the very best as you all learn more, scale up in your ladders, and do good for the society at large. Thank you so much, brothers Satish and Saiguna, and our dearest conveners for creating an amazing platform like this where thousands of youth are getting benefited. And it's so nice when sometime just some days ago when I saw one brother in the campus. He's also one of the participants of ex students of NLP, and we just had a very random conversation on how he is now trying to pull all the lectures and applying them in their work life. So I think we all think the same thing, that it's a blessing, and we all have to be very grateful for this blessing as we imbibe all these lessons in our life. And first, and then thanking our dearest Swami for always choosing people who he thinks he should choose, and giving them a platform to learn and transform. With this, let's end with Shanti Mantram. Wishing you all a very happy Sunday. Engage in the best of the activities your heart and soul wants, and engage with Swami, and have a very happy week ahead as well. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।